Warhorse by Michael Morpurgo, Part 2. Friedrich saw that there was nothing more he could do, and he tried to pull Joey away. But Joey would not leave his old friend's side. The shelling went on and on all around them. Too late, Friedrich tried to run. He fell and lay still. Joey stayed there for hours beside his top thorn. The shelling stopped, but then another terrible noise echoed through the trees, a rattling and roaring sound. Tanks, like great metal monsters they were, and they were rumbling over the stream, coming straight towards him. Terrified, Joey ran. As darkness fell around him, he galloped through fields and farmyards, through ruined villages. He stumbled into craters, tripped into barbed wire, and jumped trenches. He had no idea where he was going. He was just running for his life. On and on he went, until his legs hurt him so much he could run no more. Albert was half asleep on sentry duty in his trench when he saw something move in no man's land. He raised the alarm. Soon the trenches were full of soldiers, helmets on, rifles at the ready, expecting an attack. Albert's sergeant was beside him. "What is it?" he asked Albert. "What do you see?" "I think it's a horse, Sarge. There's a horse out there in no man's land." There was laughing all around from his pals, and one of them said, "Albert's always seeing horses, Sarge. It'll be his Joey. He never stops looking for him." And they all laughed again. But then they heard excited voices from the German trenches opposite. Einführt! Einführt! "That means horse," someone called out. "They've seen it too." And another voice, "A white flag, don't shoot. One of them's climbing up out of the trenches. He's going to fetch the horse." Albert knew already in his heart of hearts that the horse had to be his Joey, and before anyone could stop him, he was up and out of the trench, clambering through the barbed wire and walking out into the mud of no man's land towards the horse and the German soldier with the white flag, who was already close by. Albert had to be quite sure. He put his thumbs to his lips and blew, but his lips were too cold and dry. He tried again. This time it worked. He hooted like an owl, just as he had always done. The horse lifted his head, looked up at him, and then he was on his feet and neighing. Albert was close enough now to recognise the white cross on his forehead. The soldiers met in the middle of no man's land, the horse between them. "This is my Joey, my horse from home," said Albert. "Do you speak English?" "Of course. I learned it in my school," the soldier replied. "And I have to say that as I was here first, he is my horse." "Well, what are we going to do?" said Albert. "We don't want to start a war, do we?" The German laughed. "I think we have all had quite enough of war, don't you?" he said. "I have an idea." He fished in his pocket and took out a coin. "We will toss for it." "You mean heads or tails?" said Albert. Joey came closer and rested his head on Albert's shoulder. Albert put his arm around his neck, and Joey nickered softly into his ear. He knew that, win or lose, Joey would have no choice. "All right," Albert said. "You toss, I'll call." The German soldier tossed, and Albert called out, "Heads." The coin spun high into the air and seemed to take forever to fall. The German soldier bent down, picked it up, wiped off the mud. Then after a long pause he looked up and said, "I'm afraid this is the face of my Kaiser, my king, looking up at me, and he does not look pleased. The horse is yours." He handed Albert the reins. Then he held out his hand. Albert took it. They clasped hands tight for a long moment and looked at one another in the eye. Albert was searching his head for the words, Auf Wiedersehen, he said. Danke schön. The soldier smiled. So you do speak German? Just goodbye and thank you, Albert told him. I think I do not need to tell you this, the German soldier said, but look after this horse. I know you will because I believe you. About this being your horse from home, he knew you. I could see that. Take him safely back home. And was it really heads? Albert asked him as he walked away. The German waved his white flag in the air and laughed. You will never know, he said. You will never know. And so a few months later, when the war was over, when Joy was stronger again, they came home together, riding down into the village. The flags were out, the church bells were ringing, the band was playing. There was a banner up over the village green. Welcome home, Albert. Welcome home, Joey. Welcome, peace. Albert and his father made their peace too, and life went on as before. Albert and Joey ploughed and sowed the fields together, reaped and mowed, and they rode again through Bluebell Wood and along the river, and saw the herons and the kingfishers. The seasons came and went, and all was well. And Albert went on all his life wondering who that German soldier was and whether it really had been heads or tails.